What was the first joke? What were the first things that made people laugh? Is it even possible to know that? All great questions. In this video, we're talking about some prehistoric joke lore. We're talking about the origins of comedy itself, the evolution of laughter, and the 5 oldest jokes ever recorded. Me Jokelore. Me explain jokes throughout history. Picture early human life. We're still a hunter-gatherer society. We live in caves and simple shelters. Life was incredibly simple in these times. Get food, reproduce, and survive. This was also before we started developing languages, so there weren't any jokes yet, but there were plenty of things that made us laugh. Believe it or not, laughter actually predates the time of early Homo sapiens, even Homo erectus. In fact, it can be traced back to about 10 to 15 million years ago. I love the spread on that, just a casual 5 million years. Our ape cousins like bonobos, chimpanzees, and gorillas are known to make laughter-like noises when playing, tickling, or play fighting each other. Scientists believe that early hominins, which are pre-Homo sapiens from about 10 to 15 million years ago, may have laughed at similar things. In fact, the brain circuits responsible for laughter are ancient and found in other mammals. The things that made us laugh over millennia were constantly changing and continue to change. But here's a quick breakdown of the main items on the comedy menu back then. Probably one of, if not the first thing that caused laughter in early humans was social play and tickling. Just a good old-fashioned tickle fight, you know? The first time that any of our early human ancestors experienced the joy of laughter was probably during their childhood, when they were playing with their parents or getting tickled. Gucci, Gucci goo. In early humans, as well as even primates, unexpected but non-threatening noises or gestures would trigger laughter. Pretty much anything that broke expectations in a safe way could have caused our early human ancestors to crack up. Dude, I bet a loud fart killed back then. Farts are still funny, but I bet they hit different in prehistoric times. Even in the before times, people were busting each other's balls, okay? That's right. Early humans would often mimic each other to get a laugh, but they would also imitate animals to entertain each other. Funny, my wife hates it when I imitate her, but she does enjoy my horny gorilla impression. Last but not least, while the times may have been simpler back then, they were also a lot more brutal and unforgiving. Back then, you were lucky to make it to age 40. Not to mention the myriad ways one could lose their life in prehistoric times, whether it's from natural disasters to wild animal attacks to just plain exposure to the elements. So how did our ancestors unwind? You guessed it. After particularly stressful or dangerous situations, the wave of relief that followed afterwards would cause our cave-dwelling cousins to bust a gut. I am running out of ways to say laugh. Throughout the millions of years of human evolution, we've learned and evolved to laugh at increasingly complex things as time went on. What started with Australopithecus afarensis, nailed it, making each other laugh by tickling and playing, evolved into increasingly more complex things that made us laugh. Fun fact, after our early human ancestors learned how to craft and use tools, they started laughing at each other after tool-based accidents. That's right, Tim Allen was actually invoking 5-million-year-old humor when he played Tim the Toolman Taylor on Home Improvement. Deep cut! As the millennia forged ahead, what started with physical play and tickling around 3 to 4 million years ago gradually evolved into things like mimicry and imitation roughly 2 million years ago. This was the time of Homo habilis. These guys were the first Tim the Toolman. Apparently, they were also the first to use laughter for social bonding. Roughly, very roughly, 1 to 2 million years ago, Homo erectus came along with their larger brains, and they still laughed at pretty much the same things, but I assume with more depth of variety and complexity. It was around 200 to 600,000 years ago when Homo Heidelbergensis, nailed it again, began to develop complex tools and shelters. This is when we really started busting each other's balls. These distant cousins of ours would often find laughter in pranks, role-switching humor, and teasing. No doubt this is when the first roasts ever took place. Now, around 40 to 400,000 years ago, again, huge spread, is when we evolved into Homo neanderthalensis, the Neanderthals, and we began incorporating things like situational irony and community-based humor. But this is also when things took a dark turn. This is when we got the first appearance of dark humor and survivalist humor. Neanderthal comedians be like, "Don't you hate it when any of the following things kill your entire family?" And then last but certainly not least, so far, there's us, Homo sapiens. You already know what we laugh at. Bert Kreischer, right? No, I think it's Nate Bargatze, actually. Robert R. Provine, rest in peace, was a pioneering neuroscientist and psychologist. He was also a professor of psychology at the University of Maryland. For decades, Provine studied the phenomenon of laughter, among other curious human behaviors like yawning and hiccuping. Provine believed that laughter evolved before speech as a pre-verbal form of social bonding, and likely emerged in early primates. Some other key findings of Provine's research were that laughter is not just about humor, but is primarily a social behavior. He discovered that we're 30 times more likely to laugh when we're around others versus when we're by ourselves. In fact, according to Provine's research, funny things aren't even the leading cause of laughter, stating that people often laugh at objectively unfunny situations to show agreement or reduce tension. And when I say the man studied laughter, I mean he really studied it. The way Provine broke down laughter was to say they are staccato vocalizations that are universally recognized across cultures, and in some cases across species, like our primate cousins. Now, I'd like to jump forward from the times of early humans to the times of ancient civilizations, because here is where we will find the earliest recorded jokes in history. So let's go to ancient Sumer, where on a roughly 4,000-year-old cuneiform tablet, humanity discovered the first joke ever written. Something which has never occurred since time immemorial. A young woman did not fart in her husband's lap. That's right, folks. The first joke ever recorded was a fart joke. It's actually impressive to think about some of the things that humanity has laughed at for dozens of centuries. Like the fact that we still laugh at farts after 4,000, honestly probably millions of years, is just incredibly impressive and magnificent to me. The second oldest joke is from ancient Egypt. Yallah Habibi. How do you entertain a bored pharaoh? You sail a boatload of young women dressed only in fishing nets down the Nile and urge the pharaoh to go catch a fish. I don't know if I get that. Do you get that? Okay, so the women are wearing fishing net and you tell the pharaoh to catch a fish, so like, oh, he takes their clothes off, that's the thing, okay. In third place, we have an ancient Babylonian riddle. My wife is blind in one eye. Should I divorce her? No. She might marry again and become completely blind. Okay, so we've clearly got some absurdity here and some cultural commentary on marriage, classic stuff. I'm noticing so far all of these jokes are at women's expense. Because dudes rock, obviously, am I right? Just want to take this opportunity to appreciate all the dudes and bros out there. Keep doing the Lord's work, fellas, hell yeah. Alright, I'm not gonna lie, these jokes are pretty rough so far. Up next we've got ancient Greece. Come on guys, give us a banger. Asked by the court barber how he would like his hair cut, the king replied, in silence. Okay, thank God, that one actually made me laugh when I first read it. But to be fair, the bar was not set very high. Here we have some classic asshole humor, antisocial behavior, the layers are numerous here. Bonding with others through jokes that are basically proclamations of antisocial behavior is extremely my shit. When people do this type of joke right, I just feel that there's an unmistakable signature of a person's essence in all that anger and rage. And it can really leave a unique signature on a comedic performance. Shout out Dennis Leary.
Thanks for coming for my TED Talk.
Last but not least, we have the Romans! Are you not entertained? At the expense of none other than Julius Caesar, there was this bad boy. He was every woman's man and every man's woman. Damn! Satirical and political humor was common in ancient Rome and was often used to make fun of political figures and undermine opponents. Yeah, no shit, dude. And that's the whole What was your favorite joke from this video? Tell me in the comments. Once again, thank you so much for watching. Be good out there, make good decisions, and I'll see you next time. Bye!